Hey, Bob Carrier. It's minus 20 out or minus 10 outside today. It's a little cold. I'll try to make this fast. This particular video is about how the Lord answered prayers and helped me out in many ways. First of all, a little bit about myself. This is what it's all about, really. Born on May the 9th, 1958, St. Joe's Hospital in North Bay. It sounds like a long story. Thing is, my grandfather died at the same time in the same hospital. 6 months later, my parents left. My mom went 200 miles in one direction. My dad went 200 miles in another. My dad came from a large family. He was a 16th, so he not only had 16 brothers and sisters older than him, but they also had sons and daughters that were actually older than him. So he had lots of people that could have taken care of me, but that didn't work. That didn't work out that way. My godparents, who swore an oath to take care of me, well, they took care of my brother, but not me. So needless to say, it seemed pretty difficult. I ended up being raised by some people, nice enough, so to speak, except there was one particular person that had a problem. I got beatings on a constant basis, and it's like nothing I could do to stop it. It was really horrible. Actually, sometimes you wonder if you remember things right, and about when I was in my 50s, about 15 years ago or so, lady come up to me and said she needed to apologize to me, and I says, I don't even know you, type of thing. But turns out, she says, she was a teenage girl that lived on the farm across the road. She can see and hear what was happening to me, and she said she wanted to cross the road and do something about it, say something, anything, but she just didn't have the courage. She would just go in her house and hide away, type of thing. So it really was pretty bad stuff. I tried hard not to get beatings and so on, but matter of fact, I won awards at school for being the best kid, type of thing, and only to arrive back at the house and, well, you're so evil that you managed to convince the nuns that you're good. So it was a no-win situation, pretty rough. There was a nun at that time, though. She knew about what was going on, I suppose, and she told me that God had placed special angels to watch over me. And I thought about it, just as she's a nun, she knows those things. And what really impressed me was that the Lord God himself would be interested. So I saw the angel that he placed over me as a gift, and he was the giver, and he was most important. So I found myself constantly talking to God, arguing a lot with him, asking him questions, like, I see the ants moving on the ground at what appears to be 100 miles an hour for their size, and it says that doesn't make sense. And he'd say, well, actually, they're living the same long life as you are. It's just they're living at a different speed. Oh, okay, I accept that. Another time I was moving a garbage dump with my little wagon. Literally, the house was built in the 1860s, so it must have been 100 years worth of garbage. Though it wasn't like plastics like today. It was tin cans and bottles and ceramics and some steel and stuff like that. But I noticed I could keep digging deeper and deeper, and I was still finding garbage that didn't make sense. Also, I noticed that if you drop something on the ground would swallow it up. I said, Lord, that doesn't make sense, because every spring we have to go out and remove the rocks from the fields. They just seem to come out of the ground. So why do rocks that should sink in water, sink in the ground, come out of the ground, but everything that's made by man gets buried? And he says, well, everything that's made by man is dead, but rocks have spirit. They're alive. I says, that doesn't make sense. Turns out Jesus said the same thing. He says, if the people didn't worship him, rocks would worship him. So I said, oh, okay, it's written right in the Bible. So now during all this time, one of the things, like the cursed day that I was born, sort of thing, it seemed that every birthday was a celebration. It had nothing to do with me, but I had my first communion on my birthday. The whole class did, the whole grade 1 class, but it happened to happen on my birthday. 3 years later, my confirmation, same thing. It was in the middle of the week. The whole class did it, but it's a celebration, and so I had my confirmation on my birthday too. It had nothing to do with the fact that me for the day choosing, but that's how it happened. There was always something. Mother's Day. There was always this festivity around my birthday. When I was 11. The day I turned 11, they came to me and they said, well, you'll be leaving us. Your parents are getting remarried. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. to hear on my birthday. Yeah, they turn around and says, yeah, your mom got married yesterday and your dad's getting married tomorrow. I says, what? That didn't make any sense at the time, but it is what it is. But I'm going to skip ahead. When I was 24, my wife and I were in the church. We didn't know anything about denominations and Protestantism or anything like that. We figured this was a Protestant church and that was it and that was that. We're at the very back. There was a visiting evangelist. And she said, well, God had a special gift for a special couple in the congregation. I says, oh. Now we're at the very back because we're not used to this church or anything like that. And I noticed nobody's taking it. So I grabbed my wife and I said, it's for us. I'm going down the aisle towards this minister. And I says, Lord, I want to know that it's you, that it's you, that it's you. You know, it's not Islam, it's not Buddhism, it's not positive thinking, Ouija boards, whatever. I just want to know that it's you. I don't care about miracles. Just want to know that it's you. Get to the front, ask for two things. One of them was a job, and the next was a child, because we'd been married for 2 years, didn't have a child. The job I got the next day, or got a job offer. We were in Ottawa at the time. Got a job offer from Toronto, and I said I never applied for no job in Toronto, and I got a job offer from Toronto. Putting communications dishes on towers, hundreds of feet in the air, hanging over the sides. I'm scared of heights, and I says, Lord, I should have been more specific. But the pastor says, you know, if that's what the Lord gave you, that's what you have to do. Well, that job was interesting. Is that you learn to overcome your fears. Concentrate on the job. Even reached a point, believe it or not, where the boss says to me, he says, you know what, you're getting a little too fearless. You lost your respect for these towers, for the danger you're in. He says, better calm yourself down and get back, start flying a bit straighter on that. He says, I don't want anybody falling off, having accidents. So you got to respect you have fear, it's a natural thing. It's necessary to respect danger, but you can overcome it and concentrate on the task at hand type of thing. You learn to be a man type of thing. So it was a necessary job, and it led to me starting a satellite business. Meanwhile, the child, well, guess what? We had to wait the whole 9 months for the baby. And we ended up, like I said, I went to Toronto to get the job, and then that's 250 miles away. And then I got laid off, saw an opportunity to start a satellite business. Says, you know what the best place to start a satellite business? My hometown where I was born and raised type of thing. There's only two TV stations. So a week before the baby was born, we moved to North Bay. And when we get to the hospital for the baby to be delivered, and they says, you can't have the baby here. There's no room at the inn, so to speak. Just a joke there. It turns out we didn't have a family doctor, so they says, no, you can't come to this hospital. But the old hospital is still open. St. Joe's is still open. The emergency part, that's it. But they'll deliver the baby. Don't worry about it. Go over there. So we went to St. Joe's. They were so busy because starting a business, finding a place to live, finding a place to start, we were just weren't paying attention to what was going on. And it wasn't until the nurse presented me with the baby and said, happy birthday, Daddy, that I realized that it was my birthday. And that my child was born on the same day that I was born in, 25 years to the day later, in the same hospital I was born in. It's like the Lord took away what I always thought was a curse, but maybe it was never a curse, but that's besides the point. It was kind of, only God can do things like that. You can call it coincidence. I like Einstein's definition of coincidences, which is, it's just God's way of remaining anonymous. But that's a lot of coincidences. So I'm hoping you think of the Lord and don't just see the Lord as a get-out-of-jail card, salvation. It's all about relationship here and now while you're alive. Trusting Him here and now in your life. So I hope this testimonial was worth you listening to, and I got some more coming. A lot of miracles in my life. So, God bless you, and be sure to call me if you need anything. Thank you.